Let me put my music on. Hold on. Do you hear it? Now listen, my dancing, I have been working on it. So I'm gonna start with just one hand and then I'm gonna flow with both. And it's going, it's a gift.
We can't hear the music.
Okay. Oh, you can't hear?
Go, Johnny. Go, Johnny.
Why do you encourage him?
Why are
you encouraging him to do this foolishness?
That's around the world.
Dance coach.
That's around the world. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Just a Little More. Woo! We are live. We are live. We are live. We are so excited that you are joining us today. Can you do me a favor? Because I'm going to do it with you. Can you share this out to somebody? Share this with your friend. If you are looking with me, share with your cousin, your auntie, them, because I want it to be a lot of people a part of this conversation because I believe it's going to be good. So share it, share it, share it, share that we are live. But here's just a little bit more. We are dedicated to getting just a little bit more information. We love a little bit of tea, and we always like to end it with a whole lot of love. Hey, y'all. How y'all doing? How you feeling? I can't hear you, Gary. I can't hear you.
It's kind of like a Monday, right? After the holiday.
That's what I keep saying. It feels like a Monday.
It's
Monday. And I don't know. It's like, I think that because it's like, feeling like a Monday, my energy's been feeling like that, but I'm finna bring the energy tonight. But I was just like, oh, this feels like a Monday. But we have some good people on today. Everybody knows Gary. Say, hey, Gary.
Hey, y'all. What's going on?
And of course, we have TC back, Pastor TC back. And we have a new face. He's smiling. Hey, say, hey, Maurice.
What's good, y'all? What's up? What's up, guys? So my name is Maurice. I am an educator. So I am in a newfound role. So I am a 7th grade math teacher here in Atlanta. I'm super excited to have a conversation with you guys tonight and to see my friends, especially Gary. I'm so happy to see Gary.
Oh, good.
Oh, here, y'all get ready.
No. Listen.
I got my cup ready. I'm ready.
Yes,
let's go.
Let's get ready. Let's get ready for the conversation. I hope everybody has their cup ready to be full because it's a good conversation tonight. But before we get into the thick of things, I love this little part where I call just a little chit chat. Before we get to the serious matters, I just like to get a little chit chat going. Y'all all have seen the Queen. The Queen is going on tour. She is let the world know that she is coming and she's going on tour. But then I've heard a lot of conversation brewing, a lot of people brewing, mostly church folk, talking about Beyonce being a witch and that this concert is going to be bad and woe to those who go. I'm not going to speak the lady's name who started it, but it was woe to those who are going to go. Be careful. Be careful. What is y'all thought about this whole controversy or conversations about Beyonce being a witch? This is witchcraft. She been a witch and all of those things. What do y'all? Because I have a few words, but I wanted to hear what the panel had to say. Who gonna go first?
Wow. So I'm not into
Pastor go first.
I'm not into Beyonce. I think we talked about this last week, but here's my
I think he didn't froze. Did he freeze on your end? I think he didn't froze.
He did freeze.
I think he was. Oh, go ahead, because I was going to add on what I think he was going to say.
Oh,
I am having some technical. I promise I'm not this old with the technical difficulties tonight. Listen, and I think because we talked about Beyonce, something is happening. It's very spooky. That's what's happening. No, so here's the thing. I feel like we don't have. So I had never met Beyonce, right? And the people who are talking about Beyonce have never met Beyonce. Beyonce is a performer. I believe that some of these performers are running out of stuff to do. And I feel like because she does spice up her performance And I know she understands that this is going to get a conversation going. Not saying that Beyonce is just fronting, but I believe that this is a part of the performance. And they live a life, that's making, how much are those tickets? And getting those tickets buzzing and selling, I think it's a capital campaign we got going on. That's my thought. I don't feel like we have a whole lot to, be able to start throwing stones to Beyonce. I don't know her. I never met her.
Listen, thank you, Jermaine. How are you doing today? That's my friend. But I'm going to add on to that. Listen, well, no, I'm going to wait. Go ahead, Gary, because
I guess I'm just trying to figure out how she's a witch. I mean, I think, it's so strange. Like, we get a Black woman, right, who's the most decorated, entertainer of our time. And she does have like a certain level of power. If this was a white man, if this was Michael Jackson or someone, that wasn't a cisgender Black woman, I think we wouldn't be having this conversation. So I think that it steadily goes to show like women are constantly, and especially in religious spaces, being put in certain places where they shouldn't be as, upfront and powerful. She's a powerful Black woman. And I think also the other part of it is this is a queer leaning tour. This is about the celebration of the Black queer community. So I think there is another nuance and another layer to that on why everybody is in such an uproar about it.
Yeah. Yes. And I would say this, she's making history. Okay. And I think that has something to do with it as well. Her being a Black woman, her moving this is a movement, as Gary was saying, towards the for the queer community. And not only that, but she's also making history. She's doing things that people would like, no, I'm not going to do that, that's going too far. I'm not going to add another show, or I'm not going to have my tickets this amount of money. Sis is making coins. Sis is doing what she feels is right, and people are on board with her. Now the witch thing, I don't know where they got it from. I'm still trying to figure that out too. But I think she's doing an amazing job. I think she's doing something wonderful. She's just being who she knows to be. She's doing what she knows how to do. And I saw something earlier when someone was doing a video about her. And one thing that she always says is when she's putting all this work into her performances, she says, I'm not worrying about the money of this, or I'm not worrying about, how this looks and how that looks. I'm sure it looks fine, but it does not feel right for my fans. It doesn't feel right. So like she's to that place, that I'm doing this because this feels right. This feels right. And during this time, during the things that are going on in the world and in society, I'm doing something that feels right. And I feel as though that the community, that people are going to benefit from this in an amazing way.
Listen, and just an amen and a shana and I add on to that. Ray, thank you, my brother. My brother who's coming, he said that's what happens when you try to come against the queen. Listen, a lot of these, because we're going to talk about another queen. A lot of this, church people who are talking about this are church people who have a great following, and these same church people are selling tickets as well, and they want people to come to their events. So I'm just saying we need to talk about capitalism as well as stuff.
Let's talk about it.
So let's just talk about it. Let's just be real and don't pick and choose. All right, moving on. Riri, y'all saw Riri. She said word. You know how she did. Word. You saw Riri. Listen,
you are really moving like that too.
You are really moving like that. Word.
Right. Yeah.
Riri announced that she's pregnant. Congratulations, Rihanna. We do love you, and we're so happy about you and your new baby. But was it a lot of people have had conversations about that, and I speak more so. Well, I'm going to talk about the most recent one I heard about Howard Stern, which is a white man talking about a Black woman, but he was like he was not impressed. But he was not the only person who has said something about her Super Bowl performance. So I'm going to talk to the resident Navy president here, Gary. Gary, what do you think about this? How do you feel about them dragging Queen Riri?
I honestly think that there's honestly nothing you can say about a Black immigrant, a billionaire doing the Super Bowl by herself. There's really you can drag and talk all you want. I think that she didn't need the pomp and circumstance that a lot of entertainers have. She did her music. Rihanna's never been the greatest entertainer. So I wasn't expecting her to give you 8 counts and boom cats. She did the music. That's what we've always loved from her. And so I think for me, it was fine. I didn't expect anything outrageous or crazy. And she's pregnant. So congratulations to her. That is a Black billionaire everybody else can just be quiet.
Listen, mic drop. I think that is the church saying amen. And moving on to tonight's topic. I love you, Riri. I'm always gonna be a fan of Riri and B. But tonight's topic really hit me very, really hard. So I was looking on my TikTok, I was scrolling, and I saw an episode of Blackish where they did just a clip. And the father and the son, I can't think of their names right now, but the father and the son went on a camping trip, or they went out into nature. And the son was going through a really tough time in his life. And in that moment, the son was like, Dad, do you really see me? Do you really understand? I came out here because I really wanted to just be with nature and share my truth with you. And the daddy said, Black men don't get to do that. Black men don't get to be vulnerable. Black men don't get to be weak. We have to be strong, and we have to stand strong. And the son was like, but I can't do that. I can't be strong. I can't be those things. And at the end of the scene, he literally looked at his dad, but do you really see me? And his dad was like, no. And then at the end, he said, do you really see? And his dad was able to see the heartbreak and the pressure of the world. Tonight brought me into toxic masculinity and how we put this pressure on ourselves as men to uphold this standard. And so I put this question to you guys earlier, but I want you to think back in your mind, and this is also to everybody in the comment section as well. And I believe this is also for Black women as well, but this conversation, because we have 4 Black men here, just to talk specifically about this pertaining to Black men. Think about a time when you were younger and you heard something from another Black man that you now can think of as like, maybe that was toxic. So like, you're like, I don't know if that was right, but it lived with you. It stuck with you throughout your life. What was it? How did it impact you? And you know what I'm saying? I really want to hear that, because I think this is something that is ingrained from foundation, from young. So anybody can go first.
I would say, so one of the things that really, that was really toxic was, men don't cry. Right? So you're not supposed to cry. You're a man. You're supposed to be tough. You're supposed to be, the top dog. You're supposed to be the breadwinner. You're supposed to be, this, tough person in the household, regardless of, where you stand. And that really affected me, because growing up, going forward in life, I held back everything, all tears. And not even that, but just emotions, all emotions as well that was attached to that. Because in the back of my mind, this man told me that I ain't supposed to cry. I can't cry. It's a weakness if I cry. And so for years, I've always held all of that back. And it's been traumatic. It really leads to a place of trauma, because now, you feel as though I can't release any of my tears. I can't let anybody see me cry. I can't show any of that. I got to keep all of that, even though it's hurting me, right? Even though it's hurting me on the inside, right? But I got to keep, and I got to hold my composure together.
I can amen to that a little bit, Maurice, because my dad was that same way, and he kind of practiced about not being emotional. And I still to this day do not like public displays of emotion. I am emotional, and I do not like public. Everybody who knows me, like, he want to go privately. He do not like to cry in public. I do not, and I know there's nothing wrong with it now, but I did not like for my people to see that about me, because it looked weak for me in that time, and what I thought it was weakness. So I'm sorry. Who else wants to go? But I wanted just to hit that, because that was what I felt as well.
Things like boys or men don't play with that, or play with those type of toys, even down to the toys, right? Colors, or how would you act? And so this builds up this idea of I have to change some things in order to be what a man is going to be. And so the issue is you have boys raising boys. And I think women even pour into this patriarchal culture. Women pour into this too. And a lot of women that have had failed male relationships have now trying to make their sons the men of their settings. And so then you get it from both ends. The men that you do have, which may be uncles, cousins, whoever, telling you what you can do and can't do, and then the women that are there are trying to build you into what they didn't have in another man. And so then that little boy is suppressed, he's confused, he grows up hurt, broke, and 30 is really like 13 inside, because there's a lot of stuff I'm trying to pretend to be what I'm not. And so, it puts them into this place of identity confusion. I believe this is also connected to the conversation of last show, which is the suicide rates of Black men.
Amen. Y'all good tonight. Come on, Gary.
No, I think they hit it right on the head. I didn't grow up in a space that was toxic or showed me. I saw variation of what a man could be, and I saw possibility of what a man could be. I grew up in a space where my mom was a hairdresser, so there were queer men around me. I was in church, so I saw men cry. Like, there was a lot of things around me that gave me a variation of how I could, and my choice to show up as a man. And I think that is really where we have to lean, especially people who want to be parents and different things of that nature. You got to give your kids choices on what this looks like, because it's not one thing. And I think that's where the danger is. When we decide things for our kids and decide things for them, we got to let them choose kind of where they want to be and where they want to sit. So for me, I grew up with this variation, which I learned to appreciate the older I've got, of what a man looks like and what masculinity looks like.
So with that, adding on to you, just a variation of like experiences, right? Going into grown-up life, has that challenge sometimes being vulnerable in relationships, romantically, friendships? Speak to that, like being just vulnerable in our world. Do we get to be vulnerable? You know what I'm saying? Because there is this side where, fathers feel like they're protecting you because they have seen their experiences in the world. And then you have that balance of them limiting you by saying this to you. So thinking about your own experiences, has it hindered you being vulnerable, or have you had to grow into vulnerability, or you never had a problem with it?
Well, we have to be honest about where it comes from and where it sits, right? I mean, our DNA, slavery sits in a lot of our DNA and our history, and this sort of emasculation of what a man is, and especially what a Black man is supposed to be and how he's supposed to show up, right? And I think that our forefathers and generationally have had to combat this energy, right, and overcompensate for a time where Black men weren't respected. They were they were different things, like where they couldn't really show up as themselves. And so I think a lot of that pressure has, seeped down onto us, like whether it's from unintentionally or intentionally. I think we feel it. I think we still feel it from our forefathers, and because it sits with us, it's in our DNA and our history. And so you feel it like when you start getting older and you start making money, when you start getting education, like you start feeling this pressure to show up in a certain way that's overcompensating for things that we didn't have in the past. And I think it's a natural sort of response to what we've experienced historically.
Do you think it's a racial thing? Do you think Black men get the chance to be vulnerable and be free? And do you think it's easier for white men? Do you think it's something that is racial, that Black men deal with this toxic masculinity space, or this pressure versus white men? What are your thoughts on that?
Hands down, yes. It is a hands down. Old, the term that we use a lot, in not in an offensive way, but old white men have ran America. And so the Black man has always been trying to get the foot of the old white man's foot off of his neck, or the young white, whatever. Yes, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. It has something to do with race, because as a Black people, we're considered a minority. And so the Black man, yes, there's sometimes what he feels like he has to prove. And there's my little man.
Yes. And just to add on to that, I think that Taquavius is an excellent example of a father, right? He, I see their relationship. I see how they are connected. And I'm around other amazing fathers as well. My oldest brother, is an amazing father. My brother-in-law, Leon, are amazing fathers. And I would just say my dad was, I love him. God bless him. I love him. but we didn't have that model, right? My dad, I'll speak for my dad. I didn't have a model. We didn't have a model of being loving, caring. Like my brother, them hug, they kiss their sons, they hug them, they give them love, they affirm them in all those ways. And so I think that is something where you just showed it right then in that moment to Quavy. So I want to give you shine and really celebrate you as a father in that moment. But I want to probably pivot this to Maurice as well, because I know you work in education and you probably see a lot of young Black men or young lambs. What are you doing now to change that narrative? What are you doing now to say, you know what, they told me boys don't cry, but I'm doing this differently? What are you doing to pay it forward to those younger lambs in those classrooms?
Right. So the first thing that I do, and it's something that I tell anyone, if it's their first year teaching, or, you know, if I'm in a new county or anything. So my philosophy is, you know, this generation is different, right? They're way different than us, right? When we went to school and, you know, how we were growing up. And so with this generation, it's a ground thing, right? You have to get on the ground with them. You have to get where they are first. And that's what I do. I meet them where they are. You know, I may not even know their language. I just the other day, someone said something in the hallway. I think zesty. I don't know. And I had to look at it. I was like, what is this? I was like, what does this mean? You know, but so when I'm having a conversation with them, I can use their language, right? And so when I'm using their language, then I can pivot the conversation with them and say, well, you know, how, you know, do you ever cry? Or, you know, how do you feel about this? What is something that you're feeling in this moment? You know, so it's conversation with them, but not only is conversation with them, but it's them seeing it in me as well. It's me showing them the conversation that I'm having with them, right? So, you know, as a teacher, as a Black, you know, teacher, one of the things I always tell them is that first, you must be careful, okay? Because every day you walk out the house, you have a target on your back, right? You have a target. You are targeted every time. And you have dreads, you're targeted. And you got a double target now, you know, and you wear a hoodie every day. You know, you wear dark clothes. You wear this mask, not because of the pandemic, but because you think it's cool. Not knocking it. That's great. But, you know, those are some things that you have to be cognitive of. But sometimes you even have to teach them even the mindset of it, because they don't know. They really don't know. They just know that I've been in the hood for 15 years now. This is where I am. I don't know any other way to be. And I'm not asking you to change who you are, but I'm just asking you to be mindful of where you're going and your surroundings and how you're going to get to your next place, your next phase. But I think a lot of times the issue that I found out with this generation is there's no talk. They don't conversate. They don't know how to conversate. So that is some of the things that, as an educator, a Black educator, that I'm teaching them that, hey, I understand you're a guy, you're a dude, you can still talk. You have a conversation. You know, you can talk to me. You can talk to your homeboy. You know, you can have those conversations and think about those things before you act upon it, because they like acting on it. You know, they don't like talking about it. Let me just go ahead and get you with this 1-2 real quick, and let's just keep it moving, not thinking of the consequences thereafter.
Yeah. Anybody else? What are some things that you're doing differently to change that narrative of, like, you know, toxic masculinity?
I think, you know, first of all, Maurice, I appreciate you, and even Ray, like all of you, I worked in education capacity, and I think like you are like really frontline workers in that way, and you have to combat what parents are saying, and so I really appreciate the work that you all do with children, because I think that's where it starts. You know, our kids have a lot of questions right now, and a lot of times we don't create enough space or safe space for them to ask the questions that they have without judgment. And so I think one of the things that I've done is, especially in my friend group, is a lot of us are still dealing with childhood stuff. So I've given my friends permission in a safe space for that 13-year-old boy to talk to me. So if there's an issue that's coming up for my friends, I'm creating space. I don't care how long ago it was. Let's talk about it. So creating a safe space in my immediate nucleus where we can be free and really talk about those things, even though Jonathan won't cry in public, but I will.
I'm getting better, but I don't like it all the time. Listen, one thing that my nephew showed me, and it kind of goes into the last question, is what is something you would tell your younger self to be more confident about being in their skin? What is something you would tell little Gary, little Taquavius, little Maurice? What would you tell them younger? But one thing my nephew, his name is Dylan, showed me is Dylan from the youngest age always hugged me. Always, he would just hug me. And we didn't hug. You know, my dad did not hug me. He did not hug. So I didn't know how to really receive that or like hugs. I'd be like, all right, Lamb, you know, okay, all right. He still does it. He's almost 17. He's a big ball of love. He showed me how to love in all aspects because it's pure love. He still hugs, he still gives love, he never changed. And he used to even hug my dad, and my dad didn't hug. I don't even know if he hugged my mom. He hugged nobody. And so he just showed love in that way. And so he showed me, and what I would tell my younger Jonathan is, it's okay first to be sensitive, because I fought against that long time, to be sensitive and to share your emotions and to just be okay with affection and showing hugs and, you know, being around somebody. It's okay to do that and be comfortable in that skin. It doesn't change your masculinity. It doesn't change anything about you, but be loved. Because my little brave nephew, who is 17 years old, was himself from a baby lamb, and he's still himself. So that's one thing a younger generation has told me, and that's what I would tell my younger self. What would you tell your younger self?
Add all of what we've talked about, adding all of that up and applying it to the wisdom of younger self. But, you know, just to add another piece to it, just one simple thing, you don't have to play sports.
Woo!
That is so good. I'm so glad.
That's good. That is so good. Yeah.
I had to dance a little bit on that. I think Gary done got lost, but that made me dance. That made me dance.
That's good. And yeah, that is good.
Maurice, I know little Maurice.
So I would tell, oh boy, there's a lot of things I'll tell little Maurice, but the one thing I think I would tell little Maurice is just because you did not go to the army does not make you any less than a man. You know, that is not that, you know, just because you didn't go there, does it mean that you are not a man? Does it mean that you're not tough? Does it mean that you are, you know, not, that you are not, you know, strong, and that you're not going to, that you won't be a great father or a great husband, you know, that you can still not go to the army, be successful, and still show affection.
Gary, what would you tell little Gary?
I would tell little Gary to don't lose the dream. And I think that a lot of times our youth, and even we remember like childhood dreams and childhood things that I believe God just naturally downloads into us, and our natural gifts and our natural talents and things like that. And I remember so many times being around people, it was like, no, no, no. And so I would just tell myself to believe in my dreams. And I think that if we allow kids and our younger self, if I would have been more creative, if I would have been able to do this, my path would look like different. So I just say, continue to believe in the dream. Whatever it is that you feel every day, whatever it is, keep doing that, because it is going to make you a happy individual. It really will.
Oh, that's so good. Oh my God, that is so good. That is so good. I dedicate this show to every little Black boy who is daring to be brave, to be themselves and comfortable in the skin that they're in. I'm affirming you. I'm giving you all the love today. And I hope you can watch this and you feel the love. So thank y'all so much for tuning in to Just a Little More. You heard that last little more. That's that run.
That was good. That was really good.
Thank you. See us next Tuesday. We will be here every Tuesday. We only miss Valentine's Day because we want you to be in love. But every Tuesday, we will be here for good conversations. Good conversations, a whole lot of love. Enjoy your evening. Do some fun. Eat some chicken. And have a good night. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.